Oh, Bob.
Yes, I had a good nap today. Thanks for asking, Zip.
You're welcome.
Is Kay coming?
I don't know. Supposedly.
She didn't reach out, right?
No.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Colleen.
Calhoun.
Here.
Huseby.
Here.
Hirsch.
Here.
Kissinger Wolf. Long.
Here.
Scuball.
Here.
Swente.
Here.
Baloo.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here. We have a quorum. Next item is to adopt the agenda as presented. Entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I so move Scuball.
Second?
I'll second, Kevin.
Okay, motion is second to adopt the agenda as presented. Any discussion, changes, deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Administrator report. Wendell?
All right, a couple things to report on. I just wanted to, we had talked last month about the comprehensive services package through Donovan Group for communication support beyond the referendum, and I meet with Brian Nichols every Wednesday right now. And I talked to him the following day, and we discussed that plan moving forward, and he actually brought up, why don't we wait until all the referendum planning and that service contract is complete, and then we can come back and talk with the board about what something might look like, long-term and moving forward, rather than doing it now when we're already in the middle of a different contract. So we agreed to hit the pause button on that till probably March or April, or possibly looking at just starting July 1 of the following year. So that's where that's at. That's why we didn't push it to this month to get further details on it. Just wanted to touch base with everybody. I saw that everyone has responded as far as the plans for the WASB fall meeting on the 16th, October 16th. So those of you that are attending, that want to ride, I'll take one of the school vans. We can leave from the elementary parking lot like we typically do at 5 p.m. And I think there's a pre-meeting at 6, and then or a pre-meeting at 5 that you're going, or 4. But then there's the start of the meeting at 6, and then dinner at 6:30, something like that, and then the meeting to follow. So we'll just plan to leave here by 5. That should give us plenty of time. Wanted to just update the board too with some community collaborations. So I started this just the AKA Coffee with Q, talking more, mainly putting the topics out ahead of time, talking about referendum and that sort of thing. So we had our first one at the Kinship House last Thursday, October 3rd. Moved it back to 7 a.m. to try to generate a few more, maybe some people that could make it before work. We had 3 people in attendance, but really great conversation, really good questions. And the positive thing from that was the questions being asked, a lot of it was, this is what I'm hearing. These are the questions that are coming from me from, folks that I know that couldn't be here this morning. So they gave some insight into some of the things that we need to prep for the answer for folks that are going to be common questions. I'll be doing another one next week, October 14th at the VFW. I talked with Bob Soward. He's going to organize it for us. I'm just waiting to get a time from him on what would work best. So that's a group that we typically meet with anyway through our referendum planning. So we'll do one there, and then I'll try to connect with the American Legion and do one there the following week or just after, but try to connect on these things to, again, just start the conversation and gather as much as we can about what people are wondering or curious about in terms of referendum. I just sent a positive email to everybody just before the board meeting tonight, and I wanted to publicly acknowledge not only Ryan Flynn, but our coaching staff and players from Friday night's game. So the head umpire, Sean Umland, had sent that letter that I had shared with you. Just very pleased with everybody on the sportsmanship and how the sidelines interacted. He mentioned Ryan Flynn on just the pregame communications and getting everybody where they needed to be and set up, and so that's always a great recognition, and I think that's typically featured in the WIA bulletin too, right? So that's good recognition for our school as well. Other than that, the last thing that I wanted to mention is we're going to try to pull together a committee. So Ryan Huseby and I spoke the other morning. We need to look at Act 95, which outlines a tiebreak process for the Wisconsin Guarantee, which is basically the top 10% and 5% of your graduating seniors are automatically accepted into the UW system schools. So the top 10% for the vast majority of the UW schools, and then the top 5 would be UW-Madison. When they initially wrote that act, it based your tiebreak process first and foremost and primarily on GPA. And a lot of schools are having a problem utilizing GPA for a variety of reasons. It doesn't take into consideration advanced level courses, AP courses, things like that. And there's discrepancy in some of the other criteria. So the the DPI has allowed us to apply for a waiver this year, but we have to submit an alternative tiebreak process. And then along with that, it's a good time to look at our policies with regard to valedictorian and salutatorian selection process, as well as what this is going to like moving forward. So we're going to pull together a committee. I'll be reaching out to board members. We'd like your input on that committee as well as we get closer, and then pull something together for the November board meeting to have a resolution at least that I can submit to DPI for the basis of that waiver. And plus we can use that then for our tiebreak this year. So I'll email everybody once we get some details pinned down, and but if that's something you'd be interested in, please let me know. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Any other questions for Wendell at all? Okay, next agenda item is the consent agenda. Several items listed. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Hearing none, then entertain a motion to approve the consent agendas as presented.
Huseby, so moved.
Second.
Kissinger Wolf, second.
Okay, motion is second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion?
Just a thank you for those nice generous donations that came out through.
Okay. Okay, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstention.
Abstain, Swanky.
Okay, staff reports. Before we get into this presentations, any comments, questions for the staff on their reports?
Well, number one, it was a pleasure to read them all. I think for the reason being, I appreciated the stretch goals that I saw in improvement in math and language skills. To improve something 9 or 10% is a significant stretch goal. Even 3% if things aren't where they are. But so I believe that all the goals that were put into the reports are challenging to our administrative team, and I congratulate them on taking that approach. I also think it's important for the board to realize that when you put a stretch goal in place, it may not be attained, and we have to be, I think, appreciative of the fact that it may not be attained because of the significance. You put in 1%, probably I can believe that can happen, but you put in 9 or 10% or even a significant percentage based on your current situation. I think that's really outstanding. I personally have about 10 questions about the strategic plans broken down by school. And I don't want to have, I don't know what the best way is perhaps to get that done. But let me just give you an example. When we look at the whole student in the middle, Sherry, you put in We Are Crew is a program that you're going to be using.
We're going to research and look into.
You're only looking into that program at the current time? Well, here's really my question. It's a K through, pre-K through 12 program. I looked up every single one of those little acronyms that you or whatever those are to see what they are. And you know, that's the kind of program that my hope would be that our superintendent is in the process of understanding and deciding whether or not that's an elementary school program or just an elementary middle school program or all the way through 12th grade. Because in reading about that program, it looks like an effective program, but if it stops in 5th grade or if it stops in 8th grade.
Sure, so if I can speak to that quickly, middle school already has web and high school has a link crew. So right now elementary doesn't have any type of programming. So that's what staff, when we met at the start of the year, wanted to take a look at some of those different programmings where we can have more of that collaborative family feel and community within our elementary, connecting our 5th graders and younger students together. So it's something we're researching this year, want to look into and hopefully land on something so that we can continue that feel all the way through. I know it's not the same programming, but.
Another thought was around in the elementary school, the degree of evaluation is going to take place. You've got 6 15-minute sessions and 3 collaborative sessions for the number of teachers you have. How's the staff, how are you going to handle that from a staffing standpoint? Do we have the staff on board to be able to do that program? It's rapid cycle feedback program. And this is indicative of the kind of questions I have. These are all about programs. And to me, programs are more than operational. Programs are setting a tone in the district for how different activities, different staff development, student academic behavior and learning programs are being handled. So I think those need to be understood well by the board, because I think it can raise staffing issues, it can raise public parental issues. I looked at, I'll just pick one up. I looked at CKLA and I looked at SAVVS that are in your report, Sherry, on professional development, foundations for professional development, uniform standards for understanding professional development. Professional development to me is a district issue as well as it's a school issue and needs to be understood, because if we have a program in place that only the elementary teachers use and it's very effective, maybe it's only for elementary school. On the other hand, it may have applicability across the entire district. So to me, it's just about how that discussion would take place. The Ron Clark House system, it's in yours in middle school strategic goals. I went and looked at that and I immediately thought of Lord of the Rings. That's a program, that's one with the 8 schools, correct?
Yeah, we're just researching it to kind of look at.
It's a program. If I were a parent, I'd probably object to it, not because it's not good, but because it looks an awful lot like Lord of the Rings. It has 8 different schools. Students are to choose a school that best fits their personality or their view. It has a lot of rah-rahs, this boom bang. I can see how a middle school student might really enjoy that. But I think that a program like that has significant impact on parents if that program were ever to be put in place. You know, I look at the high school program, Redefining Ready. And I ask myself, is there staff available to do the Redefining Ready, to put in place regional career pathways versus whatever pathways are currently in place? I know we've talked in the past about the need for a guidance counselor, a CTE director. When I look at programs like this and the scope of those programs, I see to be successful at putting those in place, you're going to need human resources. You're going to need bodies that are able to work with those programs, especially things like a regional career pathway program. So I'm just interested to, as I look through these things, I guess as an individual board member now speaking, these are the kinds of things that I think I would like to hear us be discussing here. You know, are we going to, what type of things that, I don't mean operational things, I mean philosophical, directional activities that could influence staff, could influence parents, could influence students, so that we as a board have an opportunity to view those things and make sure that we as a board, you know, can support those directions, that we have the dollars available for the staff development issues. If the staff needs to be hired, we have the dollars. Stacy mentioned in her report that if she has a quiet room environment, that she's potentially needs to hire a staff member for that. That's a board issue, to hire a new staff member to take care of that room. So you probably get the drift of where I'm going with this.
I do. In fact, Dick, I think our principals could speak to every one of those things right here now. And I've kind of jotted the questions down, if you don't mind. I think there's some of those things we already have in place. You did mention educator effectiveness in the elementary. Educator effectiveness, the rapid cycle feedback is it was new last year. It's not a new program or system. It's just a different way of going about it. So there's the traditional approach where you spend an entire class period in a teacher's classroom, versus a newer model where they feel is better at sparking good conversations across a long period of time for a school year. So if you had a teacher who you were evaluating in a formal year, you might get it done in August, and then the rest of the year you have limited contact with that individual, where if you do the rapid cycle, you're going to be doing check-ins based on specific performance goals throughout the entire year. We thought, as we met as a team, with the amount of new staff or new to the district staff, that having those check-ins routinely throughout the year would much better suit our needs this year. So we asked a few questions, and we actually had a brief conversation or brief presentation with Linda Meyer from CISA 9 to explain this new model. So that one's it's not a new program, it's just we're utilizing it differently. And the 6 is the max. So there might be times where you have a veteran teacher or somebody that you only do it, you schedule it out 3 times or 4 times. You have that freedom within it. Or you maybe use 3 times for one goal and 3 times for another goal. However, the administrator and the teacher set it up. But that one is district-wide. That's elementary, middle, and high school. That's how we evaluate. And it's not just an evaluative tool, it's a growth tool too, where we can, teachers put in their own goals, their own growth goals, what they have for students, and that sort of thing.
The question really relates to the staff to do it.
Yeah.
If you're going to have that many contacts, then we need to make sure as a board that we're supporting the number of staff members that are necessary to be able to conduct that in a meaningful way.
Yep.
And provide feedback.
Yep, wholeheartedly agree. SAVAS and CKLA, Mark can speak to at length. Those are just 2 curricular programs that we used. One is our main Act 20 curriculum that we put in place. I think you presented on that in the past.
Yeah.
And then SAVAS, if you just want to update the board on how SAVAS is used.
We put it in alongside CKLA. It's the 5 through 10 program. It goes all the way from elementary up through high school right now. In fact, we have professional development. We have PD at the start of the year, and we have focused PD days, is what they call them, 6 times throughout the year, where the trainer just comes in for both CKLA and SAVAS The trainer just comes in, observes the teacher in action, gives them some quick feedback, goes to another teacher, gives them some quick feedback, and just kind of pushes this forward all year long with Q&As. So all that is set up and running. It's no additional support on our end other than to provide them a schedule to go by, and then the teachers to be open up their PLC time basically.
Is it a CESA staff member that does?
This
We're
is,
not paying
training
any
from the
additional
program.
dollars for the person that you described who's doing the work.
Yep, so we're paying the program. So when we did our contract with the program, by contracting with the program, we sweet talk them a little bit and they say, oh yeah, we'll give you some PD, and then they come back with a price, we go, we're not at that price, and then they say, oh, less, okay, that's fine.
But again, dollars were spent for the program.
Yes.
And I think it's important that the board understands when dollars are being spent. I'm on the Finance and Operations Committee. I think it's important for the board to know when dollars are being spent for a program, and not a textbook or, not that kind of thing. A program that's being used to develop our staff. It's not to question it.
The program is a
Is the
textbook.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
It's the
program
The program is the
a textbook.
curriculum.
Yeah, the CK.
So it's a resource. So it's a physical, tangible resource.
We bought the book. I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm trying to get a point across that it's important for the board to be a part of decision-making that's at the staff development level, how students will be dealt with effectively, whether those things which might impact the staff, the parent, or the student as a program. I think we need to be aware that we are moving forward toward this program to put this in place. And these are the advantages of this program. Those to me are not things that should be decided without some board awareness of what's happening. That's what my point is. And maybe the rest of the board doesn't care. But when I read through that, I went, this is setting a direction for our district on staff development. That soon our staff will take a perception survey that says, how do you feel about our district? What if that item is an item that they don't feel comfortable with?
So are you asking that we have a decision in what they choose, or that we have insight or knowledge of what they're choosing?
We have the opportunity to comment that the direction that they're going in is a direction that we as a board support for our district to follow.
Okay.
It's not to say I want to sit in on any of the meetings to decide what it is, because I'm not smart enough to do that, or present enough. It's just to be aware. I don't know how many of you went out, and I'm just going to look for it to make sure I've got it. I don't know how many of you went out and looked at Ron Clark House system. If you haven't, go look at it. It's 8 schools. The names of the schools are all Lord of the Rings names. I'm not saying we shouldn't use it.
I think, well, let me just set you up first, because I think what Stacy put in her strategic plan was saying, this is something we're gonna research and look into. If it reaches a proposal, then like any other program we would bring it, but please speak to it, yeah.
We're not, first of all, we never mentioned the Ron Clark House system by name. We're looking at how we can build community across our entire middle school for 6th to 8th graders. When you look at a house system, the whole purpose of it is to have 6th graders connected with 8th graders and 7th graders. It's not to implement some strange, weird program that's gonna get people all upset. We wanted to look at how can we build community within the entire middle school. That was it, just researching it. That was it.
And then you had mentioned RTL, or the quiet room. That
We
was
already hired
the
staff member.
proposal, yeah, that was the proposal we wrote. So that's implemented, and we
That
did
already
make
went through the
a
board.
hire, for that position. But I do understand what you're saying, and maybe Dick, we can connect and look at ways that we maybe highlight some of that stuff more as it comes up, so that the board is aware.
We're spending time and energy researching that might be spent in a different manner if for whatever we're researching, the board would not be supportive of as an implementation into the district. That's what I'm saying.
So my expectation would be, and Mark has already done this, that there's some presentation to the board of, you know, we're looking at A or B, we're leaning towards this, right? To me, that is the expectation that I have of our administrative staff. It is ultimately an operational decision, which curriculum is decided on. I'm way okay with a presentation to the board saying, hey, this is what this is, but in Mark's defense, that was done.
No.
It was.
You gave a presentation on both of those? Okay. I'm sorry if I didn't
No,
remember.
it's okay, you probably were gone, you were probably
It
out.
might have been
from-
last winter.
Yeah, so, you know, it's okay, but I do think that the ultimate decision lies in the hands of the administrators. You know, I, as a board member, absolutely appreciate being informed of, we're looking at option A or option B, we're leaning towards this, and here's why. I think that's great. But the ultimate decision is in the hands of those that we've hired to do that job.
Unless
The
that decision
administrators.
is not a direction the board finds favorable.
Well,
But that's-
I disagree
no.
with that. I disagree with that. It's an operational perspective. We can provide feedback that we would like them to consider other options when they present that, but it is, I agree with Shar. It's an operational decision, and I think that's the board weighing a little bit too far into it. In my opinion, that's.
I think that when the presentation is made, if there are concerns, or if it's a matter of, you know, somebody's, as a board member, a flag is going up, saying, hey, I wanna research this a little bit more, I think it's very fair as a board member to say, can we table a decision on this for a month, because I'd like to do some research, I may have some questions for you. I think that is fairly reasonable as a board member, but I still think that the ultimate decision is in the hands of the administrators that we hired.
I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm sharing is knowledge of the impact at the board level.
Yep.
At the board level. We're held accountable for all the programming that takes place through our superintendent, who's our only employee. And we need to guarantee that the direction of this school district is the direction of the board.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on any of the reports or anything else? Okay, then, Megan, you're gonna give us an update on the summer school?
I didn't see myself on the agenda, so I was hoping I wasn't last. Okay. Okay, I always get worried of how much you wanna know, so I apologize if this is more than you wanna know.
No.
But it's all good, I promise. So, summer school was fantastic. It went super fast. I kind of have it rolled out based on the goals I had set from the previous year. So this was the second year of the grant, and our enrollment was 440. That's our highest ever in the history of summer school, and I've been doing summer school for 20 years. So that's super exciting. That's a 13% increase from the year before, and that had been one of the goals. My goal was a 20% increase, but I'll take 13. We also increased our course offerings, which was another goal. We had 51 course offerings this year, and we really expanded the variety. I had set a goal that we really wanted more middle school involvement, and that was achieved as well. We doubled our middle school involvement, and a huge part of that was the kinds of classes. So we got the DNR involved and trained some of our teachers to be DNR instructors, and that was a huge success. We had a waiting list, and that's one of my goals for next year, is to increase the DNR offerings that we do. That brought in tons of middle school kids. We did the same thing with Red Cross babysitting class. That also had a waiting list, so we're gonna expand that for next year. So those community partnerships and having those parts were a great positive. We also increased our support class offerings and really tightened those up in reading and math. So we had a significant amount of more children involved in taking support classes for reading and math, and that was because of how we recommended them. In the past, it had been done largely based on teacher recommendation, and this time we kept it very database. So we used our spring summative assessments, and the bottom 25% in reading and math were flagged for recommendation, and those recommendations went out. And largely, those kids all signed up. And then they got the added bonus that they could take enrichment classes as well to sweeten it and not make it so sad to be there. So that was great, and we'll continue to do that in the future. Teacher recommendation and parent input was also taken in, like if a parent really wanted their child to be in a reading or math support class, that was also allowed. We're really trying to keep it data-based. We also tightened up what the instruction was for math and reading support, and we used the iReady programming so that we were really using that science of reading. So we'll continue to do that. That was successful as well. Well, we got the Smart Lab out of the grants. That was amazing. I live across the hall from where the Smart Lab is. And I can tell, it's in the 5th grade hallway in the elementary, and our kids love it. And we had also gotten all the Lego robotics from the grant, and that was fantastic too. So we had a lot of engineering classes that middle school all the way down to kindergartners took, and I know they'll do more next year. It was great, and now we own all of it forever. So that was amazing. We increased our business partnerships. We had 10 the previous year. We're up to 13, and I kind of attached those on the end. We had added bowling this year. That was a huge success and a great community partnership to have there. Those classes were full. So it was great. Do you have any questions?
I have one question for you.
Okay.
So we're not gonna have the grant next year for the swimming lessons?
Right.
What do you think the estimated cost of that is?
So Ryan, what do you think of that? Because I know, like, on Ryan's part, that was a big hit for the pool, for him to not have that income. The swimming was free, because with the grant, we couldn't charge. So, of course, parents love that, but that isn't really feasible without the grant.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's about 10 grand to run the summer swimming. So that the negative cost within summer school was because we didn't have any students paid. Normally in the past, they paid like $35 for their 2-week session. It's a very high wanted, high desired thing in our community in the summer swim lessons. So when it comes back under B next year, we just have to charge again. We need to look more realistically. We also maxed out the staffing for it with it being summer school the best we could. We had probably had a couple extra students helping out that we normally wouldn't in the past, just because we had the grant money to do it. So the staff reduction would happen, which then might elongate the days where they're not as compact as they were. We might have to stretch them out because you get X amount of students per class.
Do you have any idea how many students, or how many, I guess what your total enrollment for swimming lessons was?
No.
Oh, they're maxed out lessons, so they start at 9 in the morning, so 9, 10, 11, 1 and 2, and June they're all maxed out with about 15 kids in each class. So 15, 30, 45, 60, 75 times 2, so 150, and then July was less, so there's probably right around 225 students, I'd say.
Okay.
Well, some of those, that would be the
And
count,
some
but
of
some
them
pass level 1 and go into level 2. and that's-
But still, that's
So
another
we can-
lesson
we
they
can
would
get
pay
that.
$35 for.
Right, and I think the bigger thing is, all in all, we knew we were gonna have a deficit with our summer school program, but the whole goal of it overall was to see what is it gonna take to increase it? What do kids love? What are kids maybe shying away from? And I think Megan did a phenomenal job. The funny thing is, it's this great thing when you get a huge grant. It's phenomenal, everyone's excited. Until you sit down and read the MOU and all the limitations, and then it becomes like that old movie Brewster's Millions, if you've ever seen that in the 80s, where you have a short period of time to spend a lot of money on things that are really gonna have a positive impact on kids, and you find out that it's hard to pull all those resources together. You know what you want to do, but finding the people to do them, just having the money doesn't always solve the problem. So swimming was one of those things where, you know, Ryan spoke to it very well. I wouldn't say that we hired additional people. We ended up with additional people because less take it. But that first round, I think we were staffed about where we needed to be. The problem is, how do you get a student or a kid to commit to a summer job and then say, well, but enough kids didn't show up in July, so we're sorry, we're gonna cut you short. Thanks for not taking a job at one of our area employers where it could have gave you employment all summer, but we're gonna have to let you go. And that's where it gets tricky with swimming, to hire the people you need to do it and have the fun. So you either need to dedicate the resources to it and say we're just committed and we're doing it, or not, or you might end up with a lot of kids that sign up to take it and now you don't have the staff to do it because they weren't guaranteed a position. So it does get really tricky, and I mention all that because those two folks you just heard from had to navigate through all of that stuff going into it, and they did a remarkable job with it. And I'm really excited to sit down and look at it because all in all, if we ran summer school like we did last year, we're looking at just under $60,000 in additional cost to the district, right? Which is unrealistic. But when we start to look at what can we do to pull from that program, you know, and there's options out there that we've started to kick around to do it. It looks like we're going to be able to offer a lot of it and not have that major deficit in place. And so I'm excited as we get, you know, a little further into the fall or early winter, we'll start to sit down and have those conversations. But the good thing is the number of kids that showed an interest. If we put the programs out there, look at the kids in our community that will come and take part of it. And it wasn't trickery, it was literally folding in and having that mix of your, you know, your remedial, in some cases your academics, but also in having that enrichment activities and having our staff be able to build, and not just our staff, but our school as a whole, build that different relationship with kids and families. And I thought that was amazing. You did an awesome job, both of you guys, navigating through it. So thank you very much.
Excellent, very good.
One thing to just kind of contemplate as we move forward in it is the possibility of charging for some courses or charging a small fee to attend summer school. We've never done anything like that, but
I think you do sponsor a kid for summer school.
That gets tricky too, again. Like that's something where you'll have to sit down and talk with
Is this open to like homeschool kids as well, or just the kids that are?
Oh yes, I had kids coming from Wausau, kids who stay with their grandparents for the summer in Tomahawk. And when word started to spread about like the DNR classes, or you can get your babysitting certification, or take a fishing class, like kids not just from Tomahawk.
That's very cool. Yeah. Awesome.
And there were things we couldn't do with that grant because they were ESSER dollars in terms of hunter safety, archery classes, you know, and some of those things because they were explicitly written that you can't use federal funds for it. So as we get out from under the grant a little bit and we figure out what we would want, we can fold in a hunter safety course and some of these other pieces, which will be really popular, I think, as well.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you.
Taylor, you're up.
May I make a comment before that?
Yeah.
I'd like, as an individual board member, you said $60,000, the district can't afford that. I don't know that. I might be willing to spend that $60,000 for the benefit of the summer school program and the students here. So I'd be interested in how we're going to make the decision, not what class, but why we're making the decisions around summer school, and why as a board we can't agree to spend $60,000. Because we have $60,000 in our budget if we choose to make it there.
Okay. Yep.
Hello everyone. Hi.
Hello.
I just wanted to give a brief update today about the community ed program and how things are going. So it is a little brief tonight. If you ever have any questions, I'm always happy to chat and reach out and we can talk about anything. So basically, just want to talk about programs that I'm currently having. So fall classes have been launched and are ongoing. So there's some that have ongoing sessions, multiple sessions. Water exercise being probably the biggest, most popular one. A lot of people are really happy about that class. I've got it maxed out at 25 people, and we've only only got one instructor, so hopefully hoping to add more classes in the winter, spring as well for that. Maybe different times of day if we can get more people to teach that class. Pound Fitness, we've got 8 people for that, so that one's going well. We've got a calligraphy class actually going on tonight, so set that up ahead of time. For the ongoing classes, I'll come in, open up the doors, set up directional signs, make sure people know where they're going. I actually registered for one of the classes that I put on myself. Yep, so I was there for one of those, the new federal requirements class, beneficial ownership information. So I had 16 people for that, and hoping to have another round of that as well because it was so popular. So it's a very important class to be getting out that information right now, as we have a lot of people who aren't aware that if you have an LLC, S Corp, partnership, something like that, there's new federal paperwork that has to be finished and completed, filled out by the end of the year. So that's an important class that we're wanting to get that information out right now. And then upcoming classes, still time to register for sweaters, mittens. That's pretty popular, gaining popularity. I might want to take that one too, I don't know. Nonprofit Organizations 101, that one's gaining popularity. And then other ongoing programs for community opportunities are Open Play Pickleball, that's actually going on tonight also. Open Gym Basketball on Wednesdays. Those 2 items I've kind of taken over the, coordinating the supervisors and whatnot for. We have a new supervisor for Open Gym Basketball. Making sure they've got the, the background checks and the paperwork and whatnot filled out for that, and good to go. And then Open Lap Swim, Ryan organizes that, lines up lifeguards and whatnot, and make sure classes for like water exercises lined up as well. And then just some feedback that I've been getting so far from programs. I've got some written down there you can see, but everybody's been saying they've learned something new, or they've benefited from the program so far. Haven't had any negative feedback, it's all been positive so far. Grateful for the learning experience, very worthwhile. Hoping you offer more classes for small businesses in the future, and things like that. And then in-person feedback, many thank yous to the school for offering this much needed program to Tomahawk area residents. So yeah, the kind of theme for me right now is growth. So I'm really hoping to grow this program come winter, spring. Right now, I'm in the phase of doing outreach for more instructors, finding more people to teach classes, reaching out to local businesses, things like that, and finding those connections. So hoping to offer more diverse and larger quantity of classes in the future. Shooting for more one-night classes is kind of going to be a theme, because I think it's going to be easier for people who have their busy lives and their families to take a one-night class. So that's going to be a theme for me as well, moving forward. And then later this month, going to be just having people submit class proposals for, wanting to teach classes, and pushing people a little harder to want to instruct classes, and finding new people to teach those classes. So that's another goal. Come October, November, I'll be building up those programs, lining up instructors, getting those class details lined up. And kind of like before, I'm not going to share those details for the specifics on the classes until everything's kind of come to and is ready to advertise and put forth. And then December, I'll be finalizing all those marketing and advertising details. And then end of December, early January will be the registration launch for winter and spring classes. So that's the goal. I've been using the Tomahawk Leader newspaper to advertise fall programs. So hopefully you guys got to see that in the newspaper. And then I plan on fine-tuning this for winter, spring classes to keep costs as low as possible. And I've also been utilizing our social media, a huge online presence with posting and class posts. Hopefully you guys have gotten to see those, and sharing them out on even local pages, and having instructors share them out on their personal pages, and getting the word out there. And then last thing I wanted to talk about, I'll just kind of have you guys pass this down. An upcoming event that I'm setting up is the Halloween Luminary Trail. So it's Saturday, October 19th. So coming up pretty soon, 5 to 8 p.m. It's a walk-through portion of the school forest with luminaries lighting the way. So it's just a section off portion we'll be using. It's not a haunted trail, so I want to make that clear. It's a family-friendly event. So it's a short hike for all ages, And I'm hosting this with Tree Haven. They're going to be there doing spectacular specimens. So it's an environmental ed station with various kids' activities. I'm going to be working with a couple different groups. Hopefully the science club in the high school is going to be interacting with kids and working with the new high school biology teacher on that. Hopefully we get the city council involved and working with Nicole on that as well. And then some other local groups and seeing how much we can get involved with. Having some opportunities for kids to learn and also have a Halloween experience and get out in our school forest and use it. So costumes encouraged, wagons welcome, no pets please. And I put a link on here, I can send you guys this form. There's a Facebook event page where the flyer you can see, it's got a QR code, it goes links to that page so people can get reminded and notified in their calendars that it's coming up. So share the news, spread the word. Yeah, hopefully it's fun. Any questions?
Is there opportunity for the shop classes to be part of this, or is it a liability?
How so were you thinking?
Welding, construction?
Oh, for like community ed classes?
Yeah, community ed stuff.
That's something that I haven't found the right instructor for it yet, but if I do find the right person for it who wants to actually teach the class, then I would be happy to work with those departments and seeing how we can make that fit where it's safe and viable. Yeah.
Yeah. I took a woodworking class way back when, and my first project, I wanted to make a table, a cribbage table, and I ended up drilling 300 and I don't know how many holes in the table. I learned out what planing and everything else was about. I didn't realize it was like that.
That
was cool.
I did have a few people reach out originally and submitted that they would want to teach those classes, but nobody's actually submitted, an actual intention or a proposal to me. But I'm reaching out to them and I'm pushing them, nudging them, so hopefully we get some.
Good, sure. Very
Yeah,
nice.
definitely.
There's a lot of retired people in our community that are very talented that
Yes, there are.
they want to teach, hopefully.
Yeah, if you know anybody, you give them a nudge, send them my way.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Great, thanks.
Just FYI, I don't know if you're aware, on the 19th, Lincoln County is also celebrating their sesquicentennial that day.
I do know that.
And in the morning, there's stuff going on in the city of Tomahawk, like there's gonna be a Tomahawk where there's history going on, the museum's gonna be open and different things going on, then go down to Merrill for the afternoon. So that's gonna be a busy day if you can coordinate all that stuff together and share all that.
So is the kinship banquets that night too?
Yeah, the kinship starts at 5 o'clock that night.
Does it really?
Yes.
Oh, no.
So there's a lot.
Hopefully you get a good turnout.
Yeah, hopefully. Maybe people will hit one and the other or make it work out. Yeah.
And you share the stuff with the chamber, so it goes on their website?
Yep, actually, it was just 5 cars earlier today, so, yeah.
So it'll be a busy day around.
Great. Any other questions?
Just to comment, the class I took had a quality instructor. The instruction was good and it met my needs, so I'm going to call it a great class.
Awesome.
I hope
Glad to
it
hear
met
that.
everybody else's needs as well.
Yeah, definitely. Glad to hear that. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Good job. Okay, next item is the third Friday student count.
Okay, so I added the attachment here on the agenda if you guys want to see that. It might help having a visual here as we navigate through this. So as you open this up, you'll see at the very top of it, this is I did a comparison here, or Sandy actually did this and pulled the numbers for me and I put it into this form. So we compared to last year. So in 2023, first number is just the number of enrolled students that were actually in school that day. So we had 1141 in 2023 and 1139, difference of two less this year. We also had an addition of the Tomahawk RVA students. We had 14 of them, which we did not have in the past. Now, that's just the number of kids that were in the building that day. If you look at the third Friday calculation, and I put the formula in here, and then I laid it out just in abbreviation form, and then I explained it underneath. We had 1,124 last year, and I wrote the wrong number, 1,133, that should have been this year. Sorry, that's a typo. So that's 1,133 this year for a difference of +9. And the way we get that number is that's your enrolled and in attendance that day, minus your open enrolled students, because technically they're counted by their home district, and then that's figured out on the back end of the school year. But then you add in your open enrolled out. So when we see that discrepancy there, we have more students that open enroll into our district than we do that, excuse me, open enroll out of our district. But that's the way the calculation works. Now for the next number the next column that you see on here, this is the FTE for our revenue limit calculation. So this goes into the revenue limit worksheet. And the way this works is you take your third Friday count numbers, but you have to take into account that your 4K students that you have, in this case I think we have 62 of them this year, if I'm not mistaken, they're counted as a 0.5. So in essence 31, you're taking 31 kids off of that number. So last year we had 1095, this year we had
Should be 1101.
Yeah, 1101.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe I should have
There's a
tried to.
typo
Maybe I
there.
should have tried to put the graphic together for you. I
There's
just
the math
better
course you
talking
could
about it.
take,
But
summer
we're
school.
plus 6. The biggest part is you see the plus 6 there,
Right.
right? That's the big number for you, and that's how. So our enrollment this year is better than last year. Still not where we would like it. Now, just talking in terms of summer school. So we were +2 in summer school this year, and what that basically means, is how we're calculated with our FTEs for our students. So the number of minutes, the way that you get this number is the number of minutes that you have that students attended. You divide that by the total number of minutes that you would have in a normal school year, and then you multiply that by 0.4, and that's the reimbursement rate. So that number gets factored in to our revenue limit worksheet as well, and it's all part of the formula. But we did see an increase obviously there as well with summer school. At the bottom, I just showed you some trending data. So last year we graduated a class with 91 students. This year's 4K class coming in has 62 students. What we're seeing now that's a difference of 29 students, but we also picked up a lot of kids throughout the other grade levels. So you'll see we're still positive. Our enrollment overall is higher, but our graduating classes are much higher than our classes coming in. And the past couple of years we looked at it, but you want 3 years to start a trend. Well, if you look at the bottom number, our 4K, 5K, and first grade classes hover around that 60 kid mark. So we're starting to see a trend of our lower elementary kids coming in at around 60. Our first grade class is around 87. Or our second grade class is around 87. So trend doesn't mean everything. Next year's class coming in might be very large. We don't know. But right now that's what we're seeing. So over the next few years, everything works on a 3-year rolling average. We're gonna start to see, those numbers plateau in kind of that area of 60 if that trend continues. So questions on that?
Any questions? Okay. Back to where's that? Discuss the WASB online learning platform. I think you brought that up, didn't you, Dick?
I did.
The learning program.
So the online learning program, and I put in your board agenda, it's $895 a year. I provided a link so that you guys can see what learning modules are there for you. If there's a thumbs up for the board, happy to do that. I think it's a great learning tool. I think there's some really good stuff in there. So
I think it would be a good idea. We've got something that board members can go to and check out. I don't know if the board feels.
Extremely helpful, I think, for new members, but it also speaks to evaluation of the superintendent and community engagement. And, there are certainly some things.
There's financial workshops too.
Related to the whole board.
Right.
So.
Okay. So unless everything
then
objects, I would say let's go ahead and do it.
It's unlimited, correct?
Right.
For all board members.
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay.
Is the $895 for the entire board?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, public comment. Any public comment this evening? None? Board referrals? Any comments, board referrals?
I forgot to comment at consent agenda, you had mentioned all the donations for the lunch, which is absolutely wonderful. What was it, a clarinet? The donation of that. And Also, the donation from Tomahawk Sports Center to move the equipment. I mean, we're so fortunate.
Very helpful.
So fortunate to have such wonderful community people that support our school district in so many ways, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So nice to see.
I was just wondering, with talk of the smart lab and the counting rooms, and that, could sometime maybe before a meeting or something, we could do a quick tour of them?
We could, and
like we've done in the past with the
the
marketplace.
smart labs are not necessarily overly exciting to walk in and see. What's better is when you walk in and you see kids engaging in them. So for us, we're a one-to-one school district. Typically, you would walk into a smart lab and you would see towers and computers, and as we went through it, we knew our kids could access much of that from their Chromebooks. Now we're learning that we need to add a couple of computers to utilize the full capacity of the program, which we can easily do. But yeah, to walk in there, you're going to see some desks and a rack with a lot of supplies. But when Governor Evers was here that day, that was one of the featured classrooms we walked into, and he even spoke to it and how impressed he was with how many different activities kids were engaged in throughout the class. And it really changes the role of the teacher from instructor to facilitator. And they're going around and they're working, and kind of working with kids, snap circuits, and you had robotics, you had all sorts of little things going on there. So that's what I'd like to do. If you guys could find a time, we could do it. Maybe we did a quick tour while students are engaged in that and learning.
I don't know that I'd bring all 9.
No, well, like when we had the policy meeting, could we do a quick tour that day or something like that? There's 3 of us and.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
We could do all
And
of
you
our
can come to
policy
the policy meeting too.
We could do all of our, well, any of our committee meetings, we could just make that, write that in, so, for sure, absolutely.
Make it part of any committee meetings.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And at the policy meeting, we're gonna be looking at the policy on, relating to realignment, apportionment, I mean, so.
Anything else?
I just wanted to mention that I noticed we got the AP, it was called the Pace Setter Award. Have they renamed that?
The honor, it's now an honor roll.
An honor roll.
Correct.
Okay, I couldn't drum up the word honor roll.
Yep.
But I know it as Pace Setter.
They've been putting a lot of time and energy into, they meaning the AP teachers and coordinators and things like that, coming out around the culture. So they're definitely seeing the improvements on their work showing up in things like the honor roll consistently being there and also increasing the numbers for that. So
I know of other schools that don't get it.
I think it's nationally, I was told less than 10% of schools make the honor roll.
That's a good, huge thing. And I also wanted to mention the Cole Scholarship is no longer being given to students.
Correct.
And nominations are open for administrators and teachers until November 12th. I was sad to see they're not giving it to students.
I think everyone was, and the information that they had sent out was just the viability of that scholarship for long into the future. They had to make some changes, so.
We had a student last year that received it.
Anything else? Under board referrals? Okay, then last is to go into closed session, so I entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved, Kirsch.
Long second.
Motion is second to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
Kirsch,
Yes.
Kissinger Wolf,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Scuba,
Yes.
Swinty,
Yes.
Baloo,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Usby.
Yes.
Okay, we're in closed session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She said.